afternoon session so far. And I think we had a great performance with John Coe and Casey. Were they pretty awesome as well? Give them a round of applause as well. You may not know this, but they seriously had a couple days to figure out all that choreography. And I'll tell you, that's difficult because at the World Reunion, they wanted some of us founders to dance. And that was probably a 45-second routine, and like so many of us were dying. And there were no flips or anything involved. You know what I mean? It was just moving our hands. You know, it was crazy. But as I said, phenomenal. Now with Tim, man, that information, I'll tell you this, as you can see already, the afternoon session is for business builders. The morning session was tools. And we went right into business building. How many of us here want to make a fortune with ARIIX? Okay, all right. So I wasn't the only one. Some people are like, that's it? Sorry. How many of us here want to make a fortune with ARIIX? Tim gave valuable information. Yes. I will tell you this. Every leader, I am sure, will agree that those 9 steps, universal. Yep. Universal. And I just wanted to give just a little bit of feedback on that because I was looking at it. I don't know if you guys and gals could tell. I was taking pictures of some of it. It's like, man, this is awesome. Because this is what I was thinking to myself. Those 9 steps, right? In between those 9 steps is basically training and getting the skills to hit those numbers. Does that make sense? And as you can see with Tim, in essence, he turned it into a game. It started off with the game of basically that chess and the checkers and that game that he got. And I just think to myself, to get those numbers, there are skills involved. And I just think to myself, I see so many people where they have no idea they can make a fortune if they just choose to master those skills.
That's right.
And you know what I think to myself? Why is it that some people choose not to master those skills? Because let me tell you this, if you master the skills and if you do the work, you're going to see those numbers.
Yep.
And when you see it in terms of your checks and you see it in terms of your lifestyle change, I'll tell you, it just snowballs. You know what I think to myself? If you were to see the lifestyles of how some of these people live, just for a couple hours, doesn't have to be a whole day. This is why, because again, you look at that and you go, man, those 9 skills, or the skills within those 9 areas where you got to achieve those numbers, you could think to yourself, again, is it worth it? 9 doesn't sound like a lot. I'm thinking, dude, in order for someone to get a degree in college, it's a lot more than 9 classes. You know what I mean? And you know those classes, the semester is like 3 or 4 months. To acquire a skill could take a day. It could take a day, and you can master it within weeks just by going through the motions. But I think there's a saying that I heard from one of my mentors. Everyone wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. And I think to myself, if you were to see how some of these people live for an hour, 2 hours, because when I spent a little bit of time with my upline, I go, this is how you live? Wow. And then they go, yeah, I just do these 9 things. Now all of a sudden, I want to learn those 9 things. That's all you do and you get this? I'm in. Does that make sense? But that's what I thought about. And again, I took pictures of everything. I was like, man, one thing, if I could add one more thing that Tim said. He said that at this moment with ARIIX 2.0, and I hope you all hear me out on this because me and Tim had a conversation over the phone, and I hope it's okay that I share this. He said, dude, ARIIX is at that point. And if any of us here have ever been in these type of companies before, you will notice that there are some people that like the incomes they make are staggering. Does that make sense? Yeah. They're absolutely staggering. It's almost hard to believe. And the way that happens, especially right now with ARIIX in the first 6 years, this is what I believe, and I think a lot of people will vouch for this, that even though you see some people with very strong incomes, technically speaking, another representative could be one optimization away from being at that income. And one thing I was telling people, especially when you see the top earners, whether it be in North America or different places in the world, I'm telling you, and I think, again, a lot of people agree with me on this, that it's literally one optimization away. Yeah. And all of a sudden, they'll bump up 2 or 3 ranks. And sometimes when we see their checks on a weekly basis, you might think, wow, that's a lot of money. But if it was in a race, let's just say again, as you guys know, I talk about cars a lot. The car lengths, it's not 10 car lengths away. If you're into racing, if you've ever seen races, it's seriously just one curve. If one person takes that one curve a little bit different, all of a sudden, boom, they're in the lead. But this is what Tim said. He said, we're at that point with ARIIX 2.0 and where everything's at, and you know Tim Sales has been in this industry for quite some time. He said, this is where you see people totally get ahead. So right now, I kid you not, even with the top income earners, many of them are like right here in the race. My question to you, what's great is that that means you're with us. Does that make sense? Yeah. You may not think that, but you are. But he said in the next couple years, that's where you will see people 3 car lengths ahead, 4 car lengths ahead. My question to you is, how many of us here would want to be that person? Yeah. Of course. Anyone here can do it. Well, what we need to do right now, I think this is going to be a fun portion of the afternoon session, of something called the Founders Club. Yeah. And if you know about the Founders Club benefits, how many of us here would love to be a Founders Club member one day? Oh yeah, the benefits are incredible. Now, there are Founders Club members, and there's not really a title for it, but I would say over the course of the past 3 to 5 years, there are people that have built their businesses where they have strong potential. And and this is what I mean by strong potential. One, they've been involved for many years. They've been through the grind. The income they make is quite staggering, substantial. They hold a pretty high title. There's many things involved with these individuals. And what's great is that at the West Coast Regionals, we have around 8 of them, where I would say, if ARIIX were to pick a founder, and hopefully I'm speaking properly here, these people would possibly be contenders for it. Now, this is another thing I'm going to say, because the stage could get a little hot. This is what I'm going to say. It's not that one of them could be a founder. If anything, all of them could be founders. And the reason why I say this beforehand is because as these individuals come up here and give their 2 cents, I don't want them to think necessarily there's a competition among them. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right? What I want them to do is I want them to share what has really impacted their business. But also, again, as I said, everyone on this stage could possibly be a founder one day. But there's one more thing. Anyone in this room could also be a founder one day. Wouldn't it be great to hear some of the tips that they have? Yeah. If I want to be a founder one day, I'd be super fired up. I'm like, yes! If they've been involved for 3 to 5 years, they've been through thick and thin. Why go through the 3 years, 5 years, when we can learn what they went through, right? You guys and gals ready? Yeah. Let's go ahead and let's queue up some of these potential founders. So without saying any more, Cameron's probably going to help me out, and let's introduce them.
Please help us welcome to the stage Casey and Diana Shine, Aaron and Dr. Ginger, James and Becky Jung, Jeff Boyle, Stefan Hayes, and Go Lapoon.
Now, we have a limited amount of time. And one thing I would strongly suggest is take some great notes. We're going to try to ask as many questions as we can. And again, due to the lack of time, right, as I said, and we've got a good amount of people here, I want you to realize this, as I said, anyone at this point can be a founder. I have seen some people in 1 year, their businesses exploded in 1 year. Okay, so you guys and gals ready to take some notes? Yeah! So I guess I'm the one kind of asking the questions here, but I'm going to have them all ask, or all answer one question. Now, one thing I'm going to let them all know, too, is if your answers happen to be very similar, it's okay. Because one thing that Tony Robbins has said, and I know a lot of successful people say this, success leaves clues.
Yes.
So if they feel that if one person says this greatly impacted me, another person says that greatly impacted me, you know what I would say? That's a clue right there. Because that's something that they all have in common, right? And so this is what we're going to do. And they're going to have around 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes each to answer this. It just all depends on how much time they need. But I think this would be a great question. And then we'll see what happens. We'll see if there's time after this, okay? In your business, let's say I'm a new representative. And let's say you only have 3 to 5 minutes, let's say, to give me some advice, and then you're going to send me off and hope for the best. Now, obviously, in terms of upline support, that's not the case. But let's just say 3 to 5 minutes. What would be your 3 top pieces of advice, okay, that you would give me, all right, based on everything you went through, thick and thin, there's, again, just whatever you think comes to your mind. I need to leave this person with these 3 things because that's all they're going to get. You guys ready?
Yeah.
So, whoever wants to start it off, this is where the fun begins.
Okay. First of all, the 9 activities you saw, that's the foundation of the business. So one of the things I would recommend someone to do when they start is to build an infrastructure around their activities to protect them from the roller coaster. One of the things you will notice from the leaders is their conviction. They're not going to be shaken down by someone who says, oh, the products. I mean, I don't believe in those type of products. Or you're in one of those deals, or any of those. So one of the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that my new person is protected. So I'll give them a list of different things to do. They need to read. They need to listen. They need to attend events, so you guys are doing the things you're supposed to be doing. Because if you raise your belief, your conviction that this is going to work, then chances are you'll take the actions and you're not going to be put down by all the problems that occur along the way. All right, so it is a roller coaster. So you're up, you're excited, you just joined the business, things are going well. All right, you talk to your first person, talk to Uncle Joe, and Uncle Joe says, oh, I've done one of those things, those don't work. So you go from a 10 to a 8, right? And then next thing you know is it takes a couple days, a couple of those things, and you're just down to 0, and then your upline calls you, and you're a no-show. So that would be the first thing I would do, is build the infrastructure around them to protect them from those things. And then after that, it would be take the list of the 9 activities and train people. So one of the reasons Tim worked with me initially in the business is because I told him, tell me what to do and I'll go do it. So he told me, all right, focus on this thing. So one of the first on the list. And I didn't come back and complain and talk about different things. I just went to work and I mastered it until I faced the next one on the list, which was a challenge. And I went back to him and said, so what's next? This is not working. But I proved to him that it was going to work, make it work, do the work. So one of the first things you need to do in the business is not take your upline for granted, is go do the work. So build infrastructure around you, do the work, but you need to earn their respect. You need to earn, their time to train and work with you. So those would be the first thing I would do. All right, infrastructure, work on the activities, and just go and make yourself valuable.
Okay, so I was thinking about this question. I'm like, what's the best way to phrase this? So I'll give a quick story. Is that okay with you guys? Yeah. So I've been learning a lot about marriage. And this might be a quick, how to survive in a marriage. We're almost 2 years in. So almost survive. And so I remember in the very beginning, and I'll start, there's 3 H's, so 3 tips. I'd say, number 1, be hungry. Number 2, be humble. And number 2, be helpful. I'll explain this in a story, right? So when I first got with Becky, the biggest thing that I didn't really know how to navigate was conflict and any type of situation, And who here has ever been in a relationship before? isn't a hole. And you ever had a situation where you're both right, you know? The other party's not right. Yeah. We actually have a running counter. She's 97% right now. You know, that trips me. But I remember in the very beginning we would get into conflict, and all of a sudden I would be like, okay, I got this, you know, I don't want to give it to her. And both of us would leave and be really mad at each other. And what would happen is, number one, I would get hungry, you know? She cooks, and I wouldn't eat. It really doesn't matter right now, you know? But, so that was the number one thing. And I quickly started to realize that in order to get what you want, you need to, number two, you need to be humble. You know, you need to be humble. So there was a situation, I got locked out of the room. We have only one room in the house that I think really locks, the master bedroom. First time it ever happened, and I remember I was hungry, and what I was hungry for was I wanted a happy marriage. In your business, who here wants success in your business? Yeah. You know? So you need to really hold to that all the time. But number two is realize you're going to go through conflict, and you're going to go through troubles, you're going to have mistakes, you're going to have failures, and you have to be humble to know that there's more to learn out there. And of course, I was humble with my wife, and the biggest thing that I started to realize, I started asking for advice from others that went out there to great marriages. We have great mentorship around. There's a lot of leaders. Just like what Stefan said, definitely go to your uplines for mentorship. You know, go seek for advice. And I started to realize there's other ways to better handle through conflict. And the number three part was, I started to realize the best thing to do when you're feeling stuck is to find ways to be more helpful and to serve the other person more, you know? So I remember there was a time I was locked out, it was the worst ever. I'm like, I'm gonna starve for the rest of my life right now. And she's gonna starve too, because she doesn't want to come outside. So I stepped out of my shoes and I said, well, the other party, I need to find a way to help them. With your downline, with your customers, with whatever it is, there's always something that we can do to upper level service. And I took these Post-it notes and I started writing little love notes on it. I folded it, you know, I said, I'm sorry, and I would literally like flick it under the door. She was on the other side. And I knew because Becky, she also doesn't like things to be unclean. You know, so I thought, sorry, I love you. I draw little cartoons, I do whatever, you know. I was finding ways to better love her as a wife. And after I think around 25 Post-it notes, she started laughing. And then she's like, and then she got mad actually. She's like, why are you wasting my Post-it notes? And she opened the door. And I really feel that in your business and in your journey to success, it's gonna be very, very similar. You know, you have to always hold to your goals. You have to always be hungry and striving for so much more. Number two, you always need to be humble because there's always so much to learn. Who here felt that you've already learned a lot in these last 2 days? 1.5 days? You know? It's a huge thing. And number three, find ways to serve more. All of these guys that are up here, they're up here because they've served so many people out in the world, and they're continuing to do so. And we're all here as well too to do that as well too. So that'd be my 3 tips.
All right, well, since we're on the topic of marriage, first of all, I just gotta say, it's such an honor to be up here with these people up here. You know, seriously, to even be in the same stage as them is incredible. We just celebrated our 5-year wedding anniversary yesterday, so. I know it's not a question, I had to do it. You know? I gotta win some kind of brownie points up here, so I think I got in trouble. I'll find it later. But anyways, you know, I think if it's just the top 3 tips to give any rep, you know, off the top of my head, I would say it would be to be consistent, find ways to mentor your team, and never ever quit. And if I were to kind of touch on each of these 3 things real quick, when it comes to finding a way to help your team succeed, we've all probably heard the quote that in this line of work, if you help enough people get what they want, you can eventually have everything you want. And ARIIX's comp plan is the best depiction of that. And so when you have a team, I think it's very easy to sometimes neglect what those needs are. Very similar to what James was saying is, an upline's job, I learned this from Duke, is to fill in the missing pieces. So what's your role? Whatever the missing pieces are, we fill it in. You know, and it's to me such a big deal, and the team that I work with knows that my quote for the last several months has been, find the way. Find the way, figure it out. I love that phrase. And I think that's a phrase that if we all were to just post that on a banner in our room or in our office, we could get so much more done in our lives. Because I think sometimes people complain about what they don't have or what they're not able to do, instead of becoming more resourceful to find the missing resources. You know, like if we don't know how to do something, I'm the type of person where it's like, I'll find a way to do it. There was a time years ago, I think I eventually told Diana about this, but I had actually, I was preparing my marriage proposal to Diana, and I had one of my reps with me, and I was excited, and I had backed into a car, and there was a dent on the rear bumper. And I was like, this is not good. You know, I mean, I gotta fix this before Diana finds out. And so I literally go, I don't know how to fix dents. So I went on YouTube and I found ways to fix dents in cars, you know? And I think I let you know after we sold the car, you know, but it's just that mentality of if I don't know how to do it, I'll find a way to do it. I'll talk to whoever I need to talk to. I'll read whatever I need to read. I want to become resourceful instead of complain about not having certain resources. And when it comes to helping the team, it's just, you know, if someone's going up for title, if it's not my title but they're in my team, I'm going to treat it as if it were my own title. Their failure is my failure. Their success is my success. So they're an extension of me. Isn't it true? All of our downline is an extension of us. So we got to really guard and value our reputation and think, what's the reputation if our downline was the only representation of who we are? And then, you know, the other one is don't quit. Never ever quit. If you think about how you get good at anything, how do you do it? You just keep doing it until you get good. You know, like, I'll be honest, the performance that me and Giancarlo just did, you know, we are very critical of our work. We met years ago, and I'm sure people noticed, there were a couple times on stage, we messed up bad. You know, we were watching the footage, we go, man, you know, I was way off beat on that one. You know, and we had like a few days to rehearse it, and I think to myself, what's the point in quitting? You know, just because something didn't go our way, does that mean we should continue on thinking, maybe we're not cut out for this? You know, maybe we shouldn't perform again in the future. You know, and I think a lot of people don't know how to treat failure, and they don't know how to treat when something doesn't go their way. Rather than treating it as a learning lesson, view it as, they kind of beat themselves over the head with it. You know, so, I mean, finding a way to get things done, serve the downline, help them, never quit. I think to myself, if I quit, who's counting on me to succeed that I'm quitting on? Because I think many times we view failure or we view quitting as a selfish decision, but in reality, we affect other people when we quit. Right? Who are the people counting on you in your life to be successful with this? So if you quit, you're affecting them as well. What's at stake if you quit? What's at stake if you decide I'm going to throw in the towel and stop pursuing my dreams? People might think it's easier to quit because it's tough. I think it's harder to quit because then you got to live your whole life wondering what if. Live your whole life envying the people that didn't quit and seeing what they were able to make out of their life. You know, and then the last one is consistency. Did you want to talk a little on consistency?
I just wanted to add on to kind of what Tim Sales was talking about, and being consistent is so important because, I mean, you saw his calendar. He does ARIIX, he schedules it every single day. He doesn't do it on Mondays and then he takes the whole Tuesday off. You have to be consistent. And it's those daily activities that you do each day, are they going to contribute to your goals? Like you said, if you want to make $10,000 a month, what are those activities daily that you're going to do? And it's, you know, you don't get good at anything by just doing it one time and stopping. You know, I mean, we've been in this line of work for 10 years, so it's not like we got good at it overnight, so I think it's really important to be consistent.
If I could just touch on that, one thing that I have to say. I see this a lot in terms of consistency, is to be consistent with the system you're following as well. Because I see a lot of people get scatterbombed and try to follow so many different systems. And it never works. They go, this one, oh, it didn't work out, let me try to learn another one. And there's such a lack of consistency with being scatterbombed and nothing works out. So I think consistency in all elements.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for including us on this stage today. As you all know, I got involved with ARIIX because of the products, right? I was brand new to network marketing, had never done it before. Luckily, my husband, who I actually met in ARIIX,
Sponsor up, sponsor up.
So it was kind of funny, in the beginning, because I didn't know the rules of the game of network marketing, it was brand new to me. I didn't have a negative opinion about it, I just didn't know about it. And Aaron has been in the industry for a while, so he would kind of talk to me about the processes, the things that you do in this industry to grow your business. And I remember one time driving like 5 hours to go do a presentation. And I was super excited because I'm like, okay, there's gonna be this room full of people, and yeah. And we get there, and there's like one person that showed up. And we did our thing, we got back in the car, and I went off. I said,
No post-it notes.
this is a 10-hour process plus the hour of presentation, and one person shows up. Can we not have people RSVP so we know like what someone else would expect not being in the industry? But what I learned, not only through things that Aaron taught me, but through another resource that I'll tell you about in a minute, is you only need one person. You could have a room full of all of you here tonight, and if none of you came on board, which would be really stupid, but if none of you came on board, versus a room with one person who did come on board, and like Tim was describing, you find that one person that just blows it up. So what I learned from that experience, after getting very angry with my husband, was that it only takes one person. So don't feel bad if you do a presentation or if you go somewhere and only one person shows up. That's all you need. And with everything that we have to offer, there's no reason why that one person shouldn't jump on board with you. But the other tool that helped, because you're not a prophet in your own town sometimes, so when my husband was telling me these are the rules of the game here, I kind of didn't believe him until I started listening to MLM Nation with Simon Chan. I listened to that in the beginning for hours a day. When I was working out, right before I went to bed, when I was driving in the car for hours. Because listening to those interviews of different people from all walks of life, all different ages, all different backgrounds, gave me a golden nugget with every little story. And I started to realize that this guy over here really does know what he's talking about. And actually, a couple months ago, Simon called us and asked us to be on the show, so I'm really excited about that. So, that for me was the biggest thing to get me to become a professional network marketer and not just a product person.
That was worth a clap, wasn't it?
So hard for me to sit here and talk. I'm a stander, but no, I won't stand. I'll stay here. It's all about, for me, it was about conditioning my mind, right? And we're big at conditioning ourselves. So a lot of times people say, well, I set a goal. What's your goal? I'm going to go manager. I'm going to go director. I'm going to go senior director. Whatever that is. Well, then they didn't hit it. I want to get a customer this week. Well, next week. I'll get 2 next week to make up for it. I'm going to sponsor a new teammate this week. I'm going to sponsor 5. Well, maybe next week. And what happens and what we miss is every time that you set a goal and you don't hit it, what you're doing is you're telling your subconscious mind, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like a friend on Facebook, right? The word today has no meaning. Nobody has 1,000 friends. Not real friends. Not in my opinion. So the word has got watered down. When you and I set a goal is something that you attain, right? You hit it. It's a non-negotiable. And as soon as you start to set goals and not hit them, what you're doing is you're setting yourself up, in my opinion, to fail. Right? I'm into that. Right? So we condition ourselves either to win or to fail. So what I suggest is when somebody starts, you know what? Sometimes it's better to set a goal that you know that you can achieve. It might be, today I'm going to make 1 phone call. Then make 1 phone call. Don't put it off till tomorrow and say, well, I'll make 2 tomorrow. Condition yourself for those little wins. Then as you start to condition yourself to win with your goals, then you start to stretch a little bit. Once you get good at hitting what you set, does that make sense? So I set a goal and I hit it. I set a goal and I hit it. I set a goal and I hit it. You know what? I might be a team lead. I'm going to go for supervisor, senior supervisor, and I'm going to do it this week. But then that's a non-negotiable. Then you just hit it, right? You do whatever it takes. Now, if you and I have a team,
I must lead by example. I can't say, hey, John, listen, you said to go and you hit yours. Well, don't worry about me. I know I said I was going to do that, but that doesn't matter. See, because that's the second part of the equation, right? Because now then I'm taking my own inadequacy, I'm setting the goal, not hitting it, but I'm telling him that doesn't work here. That would be like Tim Sales saying, you guys do these 9 steps, well, don't worry about it. I just call top earners all over the world, they just join my team because I'm Tim Sales. It doesn't work that way. He does the work. That's why he can teach us to do the work. Does that make sense? So that would be tip number 2, I guess. I really want to stand up. Tip number 3. Here's tip number 3, and I'm going to see if I can get this one out. Tip number 3 is this. Life happens to all of us. And you and I can choose to get distracted by the little things in life. We can choose to get distracted by the big things in life. We can choose to get distracted by the positive things or the negative things. Man, I love this company. I love these owners. I got distracted this last week. Some of the hardest stuff I've ever been through in my life. But you know what? It's this group of people, it's these owners. But it's conditioning yourself to not get distracted, even into some of the worst times of your life and of my life. Life happens to all of us. Yep. Do you understand what they put together for us? Why on earth would one of us get distracted? Whether you're doing good or something bad happens, something good, or it doesn't. Why would you allow yourself to get distracted? Know where you're going, set an unconditional goal that, like, I'm going to go there when you walk out these doors. Don't, well, I think I'm going to do this. You set that goal, you hit that goal, and don't let life turn you around. Sorry.
There's not a lot of people in this room that truly know me. There's people that may think that they know me. Let me give you a really brief snapshot. As a freshman in high school, I was 4'11", 90 pounds. But I'm one of the most competitive people you'll ever meet. And a lot of times, I find that I have to subdue myself to make sure that you just don't hate me. It's true. On that Enterprise Award last year, we had Banner Year. We came back. I quit a very high-paying job, and I was thinking, I'm going to catch up to those guys. We came very close. We got number 6 last year. And then at the beginning of this year, 1/3 of my group left. 1/3. And so we're kind of starting back from scratch here in the United States. And for 3 years, I didn't spend a dime of ARIIX money. Not a dime. I made a lot of money. So we bought our dream home, 5.5 acres, waterfall, pond. And I was standing out there. I came home from a family reunion, and I was standing out in the pasture. I don't have horses. I love my brother-in-law. I have horses, but I just like having horses out there. And I'm standing up to my ankles in this water, and I'm looking at the sunset coming over my. It's a 10,000 square foot home, just the most beautiful place you've ever could imagine. Just thinking life is perfect. Yeah, I lost a group. But on a learning balance scale, you got the how and you got the why. I teach the how a lot, but the why is the most important thing. That's right. Yep. Aaron talked about the difficulty in his life, and I talked to Armin yesterday. In our life, we have death. On our tombstones, we're going to have the date we're born. We're going to have the date in the middle. You're going to have the dash in the middle. And then you have the end. What did you do in that middle? His father not died yesterday. Arlene and us lost a son recently. And I've been comforting them. My father is about to pass away, but he's been dying slowly from Parkinson's. And so this very successful man, I've been handling his finances for him. And it's been very easy because he was very successful. He loved us. He has 0 regrets. Well, my dad always had regrets. He was a perfectionist. This beautiful man left this legacy for us.
Then at 2 o'clock yesterday, my I'm at the family reunion up in one of the most beautiful places in the world, McCall, Idaho. I don't know if you've probably been there, but it's truly a miracle. And my son is dumb like me, and off a 40-foot cliff, he dove, and in the air did a flip, and overextended himself, and he hit his chest and his head, and he began to sink. And it's 50 feet deep, and my brother-in-law was filming it, and he threw the camera, he dove in, and he caught up to him, probably about 20 feet deep, with my son just sinking. And he grabbed him once, and he missed him, and he grabbed him again, yanked him to the top, and dragged him to shore. And they took him to the hospital last night. I've cried probably 4 or 5 times as an adult, and I've been really emotional last couple of days, but I'm better when I'm talking to other people. I didn't go to the World Reunion because I took him to Boston for a science camp. We had the money to do that. It cost $4,000. But as I sat in the room last night, pondering the possible death of my son, I could have died. He's in the hospital and praying that he's okay. I looked on that learning balance scale, and what was the vision? The vision is to be with my family. And every day when they come home, I'm there. Duke was on the call the other day, and his little girl piped up, she'll never know her dad gone. What legacy are you leaving? What is the vision that you have? And if you lose $120,000 in revenue because your group leaves, are you tough enough to run some freaking dirt on it and start over? What legacy are you leaving? What death will affect you along the way, and how strong are you to make it happen? When do you start? Right now.
You see what a family this is? Yes.
I think the biggest thing if there's a brand new person that was here, I'm thinking, what would I tell these people, and first things first is, I think every person here can agree that every person's gone through tough times, and I think people are too naive to believe that there's gonna be no tough times. You will go through tough times. I've been through tough times, everyone on the stage has been through tough times. And I can't imagine what some of these guys are going through. I think that's why they are who they are. And so the first thing I always recommend is, you're gonna go through tough times. And they mentioned, you gotta have strong goals, and you got the long-term goals, and I talked about this yesterday, short-term goals, long-term goals, and they all touched on that. I think the biggest thing I would do is see if you want something. I think the reason why a lot of these people say, know what you want, know exactly what you want, is because when you have many reasons to want that item or that thing or that time freedom or whatever it may be, when you have multiple reasons for that, and you run into an issue, it will force you to find the PMK. And the PMK is the person most knowledgeable in that situation. If I want to learn how to cook, I'm going to talk to my mom. If I'm going to learn certain things, if I want to learn soccer, I'm going to learn from someone like Martha. Does that make sense? If I want to learn basketball, I'm going to learn from JR. Does that make sense? If I want to learn how to make a ton of income, learn from the people you see here today. Or find the person that resonates with you best and find the person to get your answer. And see, sometimes when people say, set your goals and have your goals, that's what it means to me when I have goals. When I have goals and little goals that mean a lot to me, it means to It means your goal should be bigger than your ego. And a lot of times when we stop ourselves to ask a question, it's due to an ego that we might have. I'm not talking about being an egotistical person. It means you think that they're too busy or I'm bothering them. One thing I'll say is you're not bothering them. A lot of people here serve. If every single person on the stage said they served. So when I talk about goals, and I wanted to talk about this and say, there's more than just setting goals. Yes, you write it down. Everything Tim talked about was golden. You know, the first thing he said was goals, and that's the same thing I say all the time. It's the first thing is goals because you gotta know why you're doing it. But see, it's how those goals make you feel at the end of the day. It's how those goals make you feel and how they wake you up in the morning. If those goals don't wake you up, they're not good enough. And these goals turn into burning desires, which is wise and things like that. And there's painful and pleasure. You know, so you heard painful and pleasure goals today. And the key is how it makes you react. That's what a goal does. It's how fast it makes you react. And what that means is if you don't have the answer, you react so quickly to find the person who has the answer. You don't try to guesstimate. You don't go on YouTube to find the answer. You find the person you know who has the answer. If they don't have the answer, you find someone else. Then you find the next person, then the next person. And then you can run through another challenge. That's what life's about. It's challenges. You're going to hit challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge. If a movie had no challenges, it wouldn't be a very exciting movie, can you agree? Wonder Woman, she became Wonder Woman. She won. That's it. No, there's stuff in between. My point being is just find the person who you know has the answer. And make sure they have what you want. So if you want some time freedom, find a person who has the time freedom. And I'll leave it at this. I know a lot of people take notes on a lot of different people, and I ask them, do they have what you want? Do they have the home, the car, the time freedom, the family life, all that? Because I know a lot of people that make a lot of money, but have a horrible family relationship. I know a lot of people that make a ton of money, but no time freedom. My question is the total package of what you want. That's right. Find that person, ask them all the questions you need, and continue to bug them until you get to where you want to be. That's what I tell them.
Man, I could see the audience and what you were all feeling. I thought we were just going to take notes and learn a bunch about how to make money, and I felt like every single emotion up here. And it just made me think, this is more than just a business.
That's right.
You could feel the bond, you could feel the love. I mean, I'll be straight out. There was a moment where, for myself, I was like, I want to give a prayer. I want to, you know, as I said, we have a bond. And it's incredible. And can you tell, like, this wasn't a part of my speech. What is going on today? Both my speeches. This is what I want to ask everyone, and if there's time for one more question. Good? Is it okay for everyone here? One more question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reason why, because I had no idea yeah, you know? So I hope this question, I just felt that this question would be, I'm sure, very impactful. And I'm sure a lot of us here already, can you agree? I'm sure some of us here are already impacted.
Yes.
All right, let's give them a round of applause already. Again, their incomes are substantial. You could also see as well, perhaps their sacrifice. Some of them has been substantial, right? They're wise. You hear about everything. And this is the question, and I think a lot of us here would probably want to hear this question is, we see them for who they are today. We see them for what they have. We see them for their lifestyle. We see them for their achievements. And a lot of times we think, let's say if we're not in the best spot in our business today, that you may feel like you're the only one in there. Does that make sense? And I think a lot of us here have been there, where like, you're going through a rough moment, you're going through a tough time, maybe the business is not going your way, and there's this feeling of like, it's just you. Even though we know other people might be going through hardship, But the question is, have some of these individuals went through hardship? And one question that I was thinking about is if they had a moment in their business where like life sucked, you know what I mean? And let's say it was during the time of them coming up. And if they're willing to share, this is not one of those questions, if they don't want to answer it, it's completely understandable. But let's say if they had a moment in their career, maybe they want to describe what that moment was. Why was it considered hardship? And I bet some of us here would be like, you know what? They're going through it too. They went through it too. And with that moment, this is the question. What did you do that made you break through? Was it the actions? Was it a train? What was it that said, all right, and then all of a sudden things started to go your way? And why do I say that? Because when someone is in a rut, there's this feeling of this is my situation and I don't know what to do. I believe the way people quit is they never get that answer of what to do. So what do you think about that question? Yes. So if any of you want to answer that question, I'll sit down.
Well, there's been multiple moments. It's not just one time that things were bad. I think we all go through many struggles, and that's how you reach the higher levels. I'll pick one, and it has to do with not deceiving a person that you really cherish. So for me, it's my wife. She's been crucial in the success of our business. I've always wanted to, spend more time with her, travel the world, spend time with our family. And, I gave her kids. She turned that into a family. We bought a house. She turned that into a home. Everything she did in our lives was just to make everything better. And, I'm dressed, sometimes people say, hey, you dress really well. Well, that's not me, that's my wife. And she said, well, I don't want to be the one that's going to be, how do you say that? She said, I'm trying to find the word in English, that's the thing. She says, I don't want to be the one is going to be blamed today for your socks. I forgot to put them in my luggage. So I said, I hope we're not sitting on stage today. So there was a time where things were really tough financially, and we had 2 young girls. And that other one was not yet on the way. But things were really tough. And she was the one working just to offer our kids, more, so that they could go have like ski lessons and all these things. So I was working, grinding the business. And I felt at some point, and she never said that to me, but I felt at some point that she had lost trust in me. And I must have made it up because she never told me any of that. But I felt really, really bad. And one day she said, so when are you going to realize that maybe you need to do something else? And I started to think, and I said, if I do something else, I'm going to be a failure. Because for me, I decided I was going to succeed here. I got to succeed. And so if I was to quit and do something else, I'd never be the guy that she fell in love with. Because I'd never be the guy that really went through the challenges and make it happen. And so my answer back to her is, I said, I'll just do it until it works. And that's when things started to happen. Because I think all of you here in this room, you know what it takes to succeed. I mean, I'm sure if you were to write it down, you know all the things. But for some reason, you're not fully committed to make them happen. There's something holding you back, you're comfortable, you're hesitant, you fear, but you know the answers. They're all there. But there's going to need to be that moment when things are going to change and you're going to decide, that's it, I'm done with this crap, I'm going to make it happen. And so you all have that. Is it going to be today? I hope. I hope you go back home and you make it happen. But there's going to be that moment. And for me, that was one of those moments where our business started to take off. So yeah, so that was maybe, I think that was the answer. So the tough time was one of those. So I'll pass the mic to Steve.
So there's really, man, Duke had to ask this question. Jeez Louise. There's really two significant times in my life that I could think of where it was really challenging. And you know, one thing I'm obsessed with is studying successful people. I believe if you want to really succeed, you have to study success. And this is back when me and Diane we just started dating. And I said, you know, I'm starting to notice, like I want to have a lot of success, I want to go very far, I want to take it to the next level. I'm starting to notice all these successful people have had some kind of major challenge in their life that was like a key ingredient to them getting to where they are. And I was talking to Dan, and I go, I'm a little worried because I haven't had like that major challenge. I'm not even kidding. And I don't know if people can believe in the law of attraction, but I think at that very moment I had attracted what happened in the next month, you know? And I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, this was in the previous company, and I was trying to reach a title that's equivalent to like senior officer. And around that time, my parents had separated.
Come on, Case.
And I remember thinking to myself, here it is. And I had a certain reputation before that happened, and Duke could attest to it. I had a nickname, I was called the Kid. You know, because I did a lot of kiddish things, I did a lot of childish things. And that incident changed me. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm being tested. I'm very spiritual. I don't know if people here are, but I looked at it two different ways. I go, either the man upstairs is testing me to see how bad I want what I really want right now, or it's the enemy, it's the adversary that's trying to pull me back from getting what I want. Regardless of what it is, I'm not going to fail it. I'm not going to fail this test. And it was tough getting woken up in the morning by police officers because of a bad separation. You know, and I was getting ready for a Saturday training once. And I woke up before my alarm because the cops woke us up. And I remember standing outside and I was like, what is going on right now? I had just finally started my own training location. I had built myself up and I had finally broken off and started doing my own training location, of course, with consulting with my uplines. And one of the first trainings me and Diana rode together, the whole way there I was just crying. I was just thinking like, what's going on in my personal life right now? And I remember thinking to myself, how do I want this story to end? Because we all have that choice, true or not true. We all get to choose what we do in our lives. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't want to dump down. I don't want to let this feeling affect my downline, so I'm going to mask it. I'm going to hide it because I got to go on stage and perform. I got to train. I got to give them what they need to take their business to the next level. Yep. And for, I think, a few weeks, my team had no idea what I was going through. But when I was behind closed doors, it was rough. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to pass the test. I'm going to pass the test. Sure enough, we were able to reach that title together. And after that, things started to get better in my personal life. It was the weirdest thing. Like a coincidence almost like it really was a test. And that was the first, after that, I remember Duke saying and Sheila saying that I was never the same after that. I had totally changed after that. Because it's the tough times that really mold you, right? They say heat and pressure creates diamonds, right? And the second time is shortly after we had gotten married. And, it was, you get married, you're like, oh, this is going to be, I got new goals, new lives, life is going to be blissful. And, it's like the more you want, the more challenges you better expect. And I think if you don't get enough challenges, your goals just aren't big enough. You know, you might be thinking too small if you're not constantly getting challenged and maybe taking it to that level where you feel like quitting. You know, and we had gotten married and things were really tough. We were both on different pages. We both wanted the same thing. We didn't agree on the way to get there. And so we were kind of like both in a rowboat rowing different directions. And that was really tough. Our business started to tank. Our finances started to tank. You know, we were taking out loans, 36% interest rates on those loans. Yeah, that's not a good idea, you know, so good thing we got a surety now, right? But we were just digging a hole deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And, you know, it really shows that when you really know what you want, going back to what Vern said earlier, when you know what you want, you'll do whatever it takes. You'll move mountains to get there. You'll do whatever you need to do if you really, truly want it. And we finally, ARIIX had launched a contest a few years ago, and they said, we're going to throw a cruise. And Diana loves traveling. And we both said, this is it. That contest got us on the same page for the first time in like a year and a half. And we were like peanut butter and jelly. You know, before we were like, I don't know, man, jelly and mustard. You know, it's just not good. You know? No offense if anyone likes that combination. We finally got on the same page and things started to improve. I've been in network marketing for 10 and a half years, full-time minus a period of 6 months. During those 6 months, I had to get a regular job because things were so tough. And I remember things were so bad. You guys know those Planters peanuts? You get them in the bottle, you just open it, start eating the peanuts. Yeah. We were so broke, we couldn't afford one of those Planters peanuts. So what our thing became is we would go to Costco and get the bag of peanuts you actually had to crack open with the shells. And we were like, we would spend an hour and a half to 2 hours just opening that, cracking shells. You know, and we're like, this is how we're gonna eat these peanuts. And then we would talk, we would figure out like, you know, where are we going with our life? What's going on? And it wasn't until we finally got on the same page, we both had a common goal. So I think especially if people are in a relationship building the business, if she has her goals, you got your goals, it's not good enough. You gotta have common goals because 2 to 3 people coming together, nothing's impossible. Finally, when we had that common goal, our business started to soar. I was less focused at my job. I was on my lunch break taking 2-hour lunch breaks because I was doing meetings during my lunch breaks. You know, I was supposed to be making like 60 to 80 calls a day, and I was doing like 3 to 5. And my boss came up to me and he goes, have you looked at these reports? I go, are you sure those are mine? You know, I was working on going title. I was officer at the time and I was trying to go senior officer. And I had gotten promoted to senior officer while I had a job and I got fired the following week. You know, but I was cool because I was like, senior officer, we got money coming in, the business is growing, life is good. But it wasn't until we got on the same page that we really started to soar and just take things to the next level. So I remember talking to my uplines, figuring out what do we need to do, how do we get to where we need to go. We're not on the same page right now. The PMK, the person most knowledgeable, like Vern said. And those are the 2 significant times that I think of where things were tough, wanted to quit, but we said, we can't afford to quit. What else are we gonna do? We're gonna work for someone else our whole life and always wish we had more? That's not the way to live a life. You know, we just said, let's figure this out together. I don't know if you wanted to add to that or no?
Okay, I guess I'll go. Sounds good. So one of the biggest things that was always my issue was hitting goals. Does anyone have issues hitting goals sometimes? Like I was the type that I would set 10 and I would be lucky I hit 1. You know, and that was just by default, you know? I remember my first goal in ARIIX was to enroll 2 people. And I would set it every single week and I'd fail it every single week. You know? And it was kind of like what, I think it was what Aaron was talking about, right? I just didn't have that persistence. And I remember what happened was everyone has a goal that kicks your butt like crazy, you know? Mine was an officer title. So I hit everything else somehow, some way, some form. But officer kicked my butt. I failed it like 5 times in a row, you know? And I remember at this moment, Becky was in my life at the moment as a partner. She was just my business partner. She was my top earner. But I was with someone else. You know, she will not be named. But I remember this is right after I graduated from college. I took ARIIX more full board. And she was, and what happened was this was my first relationship ever. One of my biggest whys in the business was to become someone worthy enough to have a queen. You know, something that Duke talks about is if you want to have a queen, you must be a king and vice versa. And I thought she was the one. You know, I already imagined the marriage and all that type of stuff. It was almost 3 years in, and I remember I had failed officer around 4 to 5 times until that point. And I remember one day we got together, it was after a meeting, and we were meeting up at a restaurant outside. She got into my car, and in around a couple minutes, in a nutshell, she just said, hey, this just isn't working, let's go our separate ways. You know, it's the first time I ever experienced heartbreak in my life. And I remember that night, I was just like, what's going on right here, you know? And what happened was I just felt devastated. You know, my business wasn't cranking, I couldn't hit a goal for the life of me. I just lost what seemingly was the love of my life. And ironically, 2 days later, I went to church. And when I went to church, it was during the worship session, I had a buzz in my pocket. It's just so crazy, you know, we're very spiritual as well too. I just say, give it to the man upstairs. And we got a buzz, and it was actually a sermon that Duke and Sheila had watched. It was called Finding the Love of Your Life. They didn't know that we were broken up at that point. And I watched it, and it was exactly what I needed in my life, you know? And it actually I wrote down 14 points of exactly who I wanted and what they had in my life. I have that in my notebook that I still have to this day. And why I bring that up is I did that, and at the same time, there was a big event like this coming up, and we wanted to get promoted to go on stage. And I remember, I don't even know exactly what happened, but it was this feeling of, you know what? There's nowhere to go but up from here. Let's just make it happen, you know, and just give it up. And officer got done. It got done. I honestly don't even know what happened. And I'd have to say, when things feel the most impossible, that's when you find your other self, so to speak. And you start to realize you can't do this on your own. You need good support, you need good family, you need good friendships, you need good relationships, whatever help that you can get. Basically get humbled. And what happened that day, I remember, I was on stage, and I was Duke was interviewing me. I just broke down to tears on stage. And in my mind, I was just thinking to myself, maybe one day, who knows, maybe the one will be in the audience or something like that, you know? And of course, that happened to be Becky. And I can't believe it, you know, hit officer, she literally had all 14 points, except for one, which was no one how to cook. And she won that. She's really good. She's really good. I hope that wasn't offensive. I have an emergency stash there. But it's just so crazy, exactly what Casey said, is when you want something so bad, it seems like there's this challenge that comes up. And when you start to really go out there and humble yourself, you start to realize people are resilient, man. The spirit is just so resilient, and you're gonna find a way out there. And at the end of the day, what you get, it isn't even just the reward. I love my wife, and I love officer, and all those other titles, but it's really the character and the person that you become through the process, and that's the golden part right there. So embrace that journey. I think that's the most fun part about this industry. It refines you like a diamond, you know? And sometimes it's not the most fun of processes, but the reward, I think you hear all these struggles, you're like, oh my God, that sounds so intense. It's actually really exciting, you know? I think one last note I'll have is, have an attitude when you face a challenge, start smiling about it. Just be like, there's something amazing on the other side of this. I don't even know what it is yet, but it's gonna be there. And you're gonna find that it will be there.
So I wanted to add a little bit on what he was talking about, the concept of it, not the story, because I wasn't a part of it. He made a good point. You know, like, what I want to say is everyone here in the audience has a story to tell. And a lot of times with you, and for the longest time, I felt like my story wasn't inspiring. A lot of times I'm hearing all these successful people and what they've gone through, and what I felt was, man, like my life is so boring, you know, like my mom gave me everything that I wanted, you know, I didn't grow up in a super well-to-do family. She was a single parent, but she had a decent paying job. She was really supportive, you know, and I'm just like, man, like I had such a smooth ride almost, you know, and And kind of like what Casey was saying earlier, sometimes like I feel like maybe I need to hit that rock bottom to like break through, you know, to like get to the next level. And I think I like attracted that too. But honestly, it's not that. It's more so just how to view your problem and like what you want to get out of it. And I can tell you that I don't want to be preaching, but God never wastes a pain in your life, and everything that you go through, just know that the purpose of it is so you can serve other people later on. You know, we've gone through a lot. I'm not going to go into detail today due to lack of time, but the feeling I felt, honestly, even in the past couple of months, was something that I've never really felt before. It was a lot of emotions, a lot of physical pain because I fractured my toe, but also a lot of emotional pains in the past couple years. And you know, as you build the business, you experience different things, and I'm sure some people can relate to. You know, you get a rejection here, and you have your team falling apart. You know, you have people leaving, and you know, you have like teammates that you build and poured a lot of love and service into, and they end up not really, you know, wanting to know marketing. So there's a lot of things that happen you will experience in this business, and a lot of times you might feel like, oh man, like what a waste. You know, you might feel like almost this sense of like betrayal, and kind of like what Duke was saying, you almost feel like really alone, like you're only in this by yourself, you know? And what I think the first thing that I would do, and I think that would really help me, is to focus on helping other people. Because when I started looking at the team that I have currently, rather than like looking at people that are no longer with me, that are no longer a part of my team, the way I felt was, man, like what I need to do is to serve these people that are still loyal, you know, with me, rather than like, you know, complaining like what Tim Sales was saying and blaming everything else because it's not gonna help, you know? But every single person that's gonna go through challenges and problems and, you know, barriers in life, what you need to do is, number one, is look for people that you can serve right now. Because when you focus your attention to other people you can love, it's so difficult to think about your own problems. Like it literally vanishes. Like you don't even feel like, you almost feel like, man, like I feel this for that person, and I'll be too selfish thinking about my own problems, you know? And I think that's one thing that really got me out of kind of like my emotional rut, where I felt like, wow, like this is, you know, like God's giving me the people that I need to serve right now, you know? And, you know, everybody has their own journey, and I just feel like if you focus on finding people you can love, it's gonna be so, and I know it's like easier said than done, which is why you need a community, you need your team, your uplines, your crosslines, the ARIIX family, you need people that are on the same boat and have the same purpose with you, so you can share that feeling with them. And I can't, like, I want to give a huge shout out to my husband. Honestly, he put up with so much. He just let me do me, you know. And I felt like if it weren't for him supporting me through this journey, I wouldn't be able to find this way to not waste my pain and start using it to service other people.
Hey, can I ask you a question? How many of you, is this your first direct sales company that you've been a part of? Wow. All right, perfect. So I had a first experience too. That's my best joke. So how many of you have ever been financially set where you didn't have to wake up and go to work to earn money? Okay. So imagine just for a second that was your life, and then it was taken away. And then somebody introduced you to this industry. Now, hold on a second. One of your biggest fears is speaking in front of people, because they all look at you. I mean, I would have rather die. I'm not kidding. So I want you to get this, because a lot of times we'll sit back there and say, wow, these guys are amazing speakers. I was the guy that said, there's no way. I'll do whatever you tell me to do, but I'm not going to speak in front of people. I think that's one of the reasons I have to get up. It's my nervous energy, right? But the second problem is I had a phone call that I lost all my money. So I went from not having to work, not having to worry about money, to I have none. Now, if this is broke, this is where I was. My first goal was just to be broke again one day. Okay, now I want you to think about this, because this is important, right? So this is important. When I say I had no money, I had no money. The only vehicle that I had was a semi-truck. My sponsor didn't go to my state. I just got this kit or something, whatever. I never opened it. I lived in Michigan. There was nobody in the state of Michigan in this company that I was a part of. I didn't know what to do. You ever felt like that? You just don't know what to do. You're on an island. What do you do? Now here's the other problem. Anybody ever have some bills that were due that you didn't have enough money to pay? Okay. My bills at that time in my life were about $7,000 to $8,000 a month. I had zero income coming in. I had zero money left. I couldn't stand up in front of people and speak. I didn't know what I was doing in network marketing. I'd go to a certain few friends and I said, hey, Chris, I need a favor. Would you loan me some money? Well, how much? I'd say, well, I need about $10,000. For what? Well, I need to pay some bills. Are you going to pay me back? Yeah, I promise I'll pay you back. Well, how are you going to do it? Well, I got this little network marketing thing, and I believe it's going to work. I want you to think about that. You ever have $5 in your pocket? Yeah. And you go to put gas in your car? Or somebody else's car, because I had to borrow somebody's car. No, I'm kidding, I'm not kidding. And it was, the thought process was, do I put it all in and save $1 just in case? Or did I just put it all in? I had no money for clothes. I didn't have somebody like Josh to dress me. We'd do trainings. I would spend money I didn't have. I used to pay somebody $100 just to speak in front of the little group so I wouldn't have to get up in front of the room. I rented a room for these trainings. Saturday morning, I'm paying $100 a week for this training room. And it was up 2 flights of stairs. I carried everything up there. I set everything up. And nobody'd show up. But see, every time that would happen, I would imagine, someday, they're going to come. Someday they're going to listen. Someday I'm going to be able to just give somebody $5, $50, $500. Someday. See, I'd go to these events, these conventions, you know what? I'd stay 5 miles, 10 miles, 20 miles because I could sleep cheap. My first event, the only thing that I had is a semi-truck. I loaded up my 6 reps. We drove all night long. We got down to that event. 5 o'clock in the morning, went up there splashing water on my face, and went in, and it sat way in the back, way back there. Way back there. Way back there. You want to know that moment? The moment when somebody was standing on that stage, and I thought to myself, wait a minute. If they can do it, I can do it. That was that defining moment. I was at a big event. Every single person here, every person on your team, do you know that this guy's putting on one of the, this is an amazing event, by the way. Give Duke a huge hand. And Sheila, and everybody else that was involved in that, and of course. But, see, we should have 500 people here. We should have 5,000 people here.
Yeah, that's right.
See, we can fill Las Vegas where we make him have to rent more space. See, because if just one person that sits in the back that just shows up gets that defining moment, imagine what can happen. I'll end with this. My favorite quote. It's a guy by the name of Les Brown. He's helped me through so many things. He doesn't even know it. When life knocks you down, land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up.
We are not looking, whether you know it or not, for a life of ease. We're looking to become the type of person that can take on ever increasing amounts of pressure and stress with ever increasing amounts of ease. It will never be easy. It will never be simple. I don't care how much money you're making, if you're Linnell Johnson or Duke Tupton or Steve Sporch or Tim Sells. You can get your butt handed to you. You will. Mine started December 14th, 1996. I was an Amway rep, 22 years old. I worked a week to invite every single person to Boise, Idaho, my parents' house. I lived in their basement. I've been working for 9 months, showing an average of three presentations a week. Only people I sponsored were the people I bought their kit for them. This was my night. I went back to Idaho, where I was from. Everybody I knew was going to show up. It almost felt like then one foggy Christmas Eve, my upline drove 5 hours through the fog. 7 o'clock showed up, and I felt like I was a kid at Christmas looking for Santa Claus. No one showed up. 7:15, no one showed up. 7:30, no one showed up. I was done. I felt like, you guys are too young to get this reference, but I felt like E.T. had died. But real men do not cry. Felt like crying. Next morning, my neighbor showed up. Hey, I'm sorry I couldn't come last night. She got in right there. Then her neighbor got in. Within 1 month, I was the equivalent of an officer. So did I become officer in a month or in 10 months? 10 months. Now, if I lose a group, if I get run over by a car and about to lose my leg, I'm tougher than I was before. The only thing that makes me emotional is my boy, my girl. But I am not here for a life of ease. I am here to be strong enough to take on life with ease. You can do this, guys.
So, toughest moment coming up. I always think back to when I was financially just done. There's two pivotal moments. One that was really bad and one that wasn't as bad. The first one was obviously when I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard, if not heard, I overspent myself beyond anyone could ever imagine at the age of 26, 27 years old. I overspent myself on everything, trying to impress the wrong people, trying to impress other people that I shouldn't have been trying to impress. And I learned my lesson. I filed bankruptcy at the age of 26, 27. I had to move back home with my parents. I couldn't even afford a car, but borrow my mom's car. I always joke around that on the back of the car was student of the month. I was that student of the month. Does that make sense? So it was the same car I was borrowing. My parents would drop me off in school. So you guys go, okay. That's how bad things got. So my parents would drop me off in that car, and I ended up being the one driving it. It was so bad to the point where I said, let's get smart. I even got something called a Honda Insight. You guys know what that is? It looks like a bullet, you know what I mean? If you ever look it up, not the newer ones, the older one, the first one that came out, stick shift. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna fix this up. No, it didn't work. But my life got to a point where I was thinking about more scarcity than abundance. I kept thinking about how much money I don't have versus how much money I can have. It's small difference in words, big difference in income. And I realized at that point, I never wanted to feel that way ever again. I would go to bed, literally crying myself to bed because my parents told me how much of a black sheep I was, how much of a failure I was. Dropped out of college, didn't listen to my parents. My parents told me, go to school. I said, I didn't say anything, I just didn't go. I didn't go. They blamed my sister's failures on me because my sisters didn't go to college either. And they said, it's all because of you, you didn't go, so you're leading by example in the wrong direction. Every single day I got home, I'll be hammered. And that further solidified of how much I don't want to be that person. One thing I've learned is, so you know, winners and losers both fall down. The difference is one gets back up. And as much as times I didn't want to get back up, as many times I wanted to stay in bed, as many times I just wanted to not be on this earth anymore because of how bad my life got. I did seek advice because as much as it's hard for me to seek the advice of an upline, because as much as my uplines told me what not to do, I still did what not to do. And I felt embarrassed. That's my ego. I felt embarrassed to go to them. I'm sure a lot of us sometimes feel like that, right? An upline tells us what to do. We don't do it. We're like, oh, I don't want to go to my upline, man. They're tell me what I didn't do. You know what I mean? I was that way with Duke and Sheila. They would tell me what to do, what not to do, and I would do what not to do every single time. I don't know. I mean, they still stuck with me, man. Like, Dude, he stuck with me, man. Like, that's the thing, that's how much, why I have so much respect for this industry. I don't know any other industry where someone would stick with you through thick and thin. I was at my lowest of lows, like, my gosh, it was so to the bad to the point where I literally had to find church. Like, that's how bad things got. Like, I had no answer in life. I was like, the only answer I can get is from church. Let me go find an answer. Financial, I was trying to find my financial just from church. That's how bad things got. And that's the biggest thing I have respect for. And that's why I guess people ask, why am I loyal? It's because they were loyal to me. And I want you to know, people here will give up certain things for you, and they'll pay loyalty to you guys. So for me, that was my lowest time of my life. But ironically, my breakthrough did not happen right then and there. Don't think your breakthrough is going to happen. Boom. All right, I went through all the crap. I need to go ask for this stuff. I need to go get some real crap in my life and go like burning. Oh, no, don't do that. You know what's funny? My breakthrough happened like 4 years later, 3 years later. I stuck it through. In the first 3, and you know what's funny? When I did that, that's when we left to ARIIX, ironically. So I went from like bankrupt and a little bit of business to vitamins. Does that make sense? So we literally left everything and started over again in ARIIX. And my life wasn't there. My parents were like, first you do this, then you do this, then you do this. Now you're joining this. You're joining ARIIX that has nothing going for it at the time, 6 years ago. My parents were like, what is wrong with our son? Did we drop him on the head? What the hell is wrong with him? I was trying to, and keep in mind, at 23, I was very grateful I drove a Lamborghini at 23. So you gotta imagine, I'm trying to approach people who know me for cars, and I'm driving my mom's car. Like, I would have to park my car around the street, walk to the Starbucks, and they go, oh, I'm ready to go. Where's your car? Oh, I couldn't find parking. It was like, I have to park down the street. And I'd walk to my car, and that was my grind. It was not until I came to an event like this, I don't know, something clicked. It was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, in LA, was it LA? No, it was Vegas, I think. It was Vegas. I'll never forget it. This is funny, the bankruptcy did all that stuff to my life. It made me learn one thing. I never want to feel that way ever again. I think that's what a bad situation does. It makes you ingrain in your head, I never want to feel this way again. And keep in mind, this is not the bankruptcy. I know Duke always talks about his credit card debt like $3,000, $4,000. That's ingrained in him. It took me like $250,000 to feel that way. Does that make sense? So don't wait for me, okay? Straight up, like, don't, all right? Don't do what Vern did, okay?
Oil change.
But what stuck out for me, I was sitting in a room, I'll never forget it. I don't know if you realize this or not. And I'm the type of guy where I'm very nonchalant, you know? And so we were at that event, and I was building my business, my income was growing, I was making good money, I was making decently good money, and my life was starting to turn around. You know, I was getting into cool cars. Have you ever seen that big check of me with the no clothes on, you know what I'm talking about? That was that time, that was good. That was Duke's idea, by the way. Throw him under the bus, you know. But Jared took the picture for me. Anyways. Most embarrassing thing, people driving up and down the street of my house. So I live with my parents. And then Jared took a picture for me, and Duke was not good enough. So I called my mom. My mom took a picture for me. It was so weird. People were running and driving on the street. What the hell is wrong with that guy? Social media. Yeah, now everyone remembers that picture. I'll never forget it. Even corporate staff called me. What the hell is that? So, my point being is, I had my rough time in my life, and don't expect your breakthrough right away. It could happen for some of you. It could happen that day if you wanted. But it took 3 to 4 years after that. 5 years after that. I went to an event. I was making decently good money, you know, officer range money. I came to an event, I'll never forget. This is why this event is so important. Like, people don't realize what these events do. So people take the wrong things. Oh, event's boring, this and that. You're taking the wrong things from this event. I was in this room 2 years, I'll never forget this. I was a president at the time. I was sitting in the room, and everyone got to speak on stage. I was on a training stage, and Duke said, do you know why you're not speaking? And I go, yeah, you know, whatever. And I just kind of said, yeah, and he goes, it's because you're not a CEO and above. And that's when it hit me. Because I was a president making good money. I was driving the cool cars. I was happy. But right when I heard of that, something clicked. I saw everyone go on stage, get their awards. something clicked, and I said, never again. Never again. That's the second time I said never again. The first time I was just kidding. The second time I was like, for sure. So you all said never again. And the first time I was like, oh crap, it did happen again. The second time, this was it. I said never. Something about this time, never again. And I don't know. I think Duke probably knew, but I think he felt it. I just kept quiet. And I was in that room. I was like, this entire room, and here I am. I invested almost 10 to 11 years of my life. I went through the crap. My parents don't trust me. My sisters don't trust me. My family don't trust me. No one trusts me. Enough is enough. That's when I went CEO 1 month later. And then later that year, I was very blessed to go level 1, level 2, and level 3 within 3 months. From, I think it was January, February, and March of that year. I guess you could say that was my banner year. That's when I went, I was very highly ranked in the car rankings. And I was very grateful. I was blessed to be the Division Award winner as well. I want you to know, some people think I'm going to go through crap and I'm going to hit the nitrous button. It can happen for some of us. But for me, I guess I'm just a slow learner, I guess. Maybe I'm just a slow poke, you know what I mean? But one thing that Duke said is, it doesn't matter if you're a early bloomer or late bloomer. Just bloom. I'm a great late bloomer. Does that make sense? So if I can do it, I know a lot of you guys can do it.
I think we went well over our time. Let's give them all a round of applause, everybody.